there's a lot of white people defining what black is. Uh, for me, like my biggest gripe, not so much with Black Lives Matter, but more with white people's participation in it, is there's a lot of white people telling other white people how to white people. In the wake of the George Floyd murder, I went on Instagram and it was 1,000 white women telling me who I needed to vote for, who needed to be defunded, what businesses need to be speaking up and who needed to be silent. And I was like, did any black people get this vote? Get their ballot for how we're supposed to move forward? So there is this, for me, it's the entitlement and the arrogance, right? That bothers me a lot more from a liberal perspective than like some ignorant redneck who's like, hey, back to blue. You gotta back to blue. Like, I pity people who can't see the totality of race relations in our country. Like, I pity a racist Trump supporter. I'm incensed by an arrogant rich white person who's sort of like, well, I know better because I went to Brown. I went to Wesleyan and took an African American studies course, so I know what's right for these people. So I guess specifically what I'm talking about is, Chelsea Handler came out and was talking about 50 Cent and being like, I had to tell him he's black. And that nothing bothers me more. And the reality of white people defining blackness and sort of making a fool out of the idea that if a black person exhibits and expresses any sort of political view that isn't exactly in line with like white liberal beliefs, they're a coon or they're like some off the plantation Negro who has self-loathing and shit. It's like, kind of nigga just think differently or at least posit some different ideas. Now, I'm not saying Donald Trump is great for black people. I'm not saying that 50 Cent or Kanye West or, any of these, black celebrities coming out to support or at least entertain a dialogue with Trump and the Republican Party are right in doing so. But what's definitely not right is some white bitch or anyone coming out being like, ho, 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 ho. You're not allowed to do that. That's the problem. That's damaging racism. That's a pathology that I have an issue with. Not some ignorant redneck who was abused by their uncle and was teased by a black guy in middle school. And not to justify white racism, but again, I pity it because I'm better than them. I pity the fool. Yeah, it's really frustrating, and there's too much of it. There's too much, like, I was on Bumble, I was bumbling, and my profile says moderate, because I'm a fucking moderate, and I like to look at both sides of an argument, and we now live in a society due to polarization of communication and the Telecommunications Act of 1996, which has limited the type of discourse that we have in our country. People only believe in absolutes. I don't. I believe there's nuance in things. But my profile said moderate, and this girl, white girl, is just like, not gonna lie, mildly shocked that your profile says moderate. And I was like, what? She's like, yeah, I'm shocked. I'm like, hello, nice to meet you too, bitch. You bitch. And she wasn't even from this country. This bitch was like from Sweden. I was just like, can we get INS on the phone and make sure this goddamn communist? Anyway, yeah, white people, stop trying to tell black people how we're supposed to move forward. And stop trying to define blackness and define black social movements. Do like Trump said, stand back and stand by. You guys go hang out with Proud Boys and fucking the far right and let African Americans have an internal discourse, and we'll let you know when we need you, and we'll tell you what to do. Don't you step in and try to tell us how we're supposed to move forward, what we're supposed to think, and what's acceptable politically. Because there's also another notion where white people are just like, they have, we're considered a voting bloc, not individuals, and I don't know this. So I can't wait for this fucking election to be over. That's my patron saint of blackness presiding over me. Actually, I have no idea who that is. It's a painting. It's a photograph I stole from my roommate. years ago, and I thought it looked good, and I just put it in a box, and now it's mine. Yeah, so anyway, you guys get what I'm saying? Do you disagree? Comment if you have experienced white people being really arrogant about telling minorities, and also being like, how could you even consider, like, I had to explain to a white person that, like, Mexicans sometimes have a lot of beef with African Americans, particularly in Southern California. I was like, there's racism that exists beyond black and white. There's Asians don't like a lot of black people. Mexicans don't a lot of people don't like black people. But it also goes back and forth. All right, this is my Sunday afternoon coffee rant. Happy election.